Hi, I'm Jane Rudolph.
And I'm Msgr Charles Meinhof.
I'm Father Joe Glass. Welcome to Reel to Reel.
We're in the midst of our summer break now, but still here with Reel to Reel.
Are you very warm? Is it very hot these days and dry, Joe?
No, I'm not feeling too bad. I think air conditioning's got me spoiled, though. I love it. It's in the car, it's in my room. I'm very fortunate.
At least he won't start in with his drought jokes, right?
I could give you one. You want a quick one?
no.
Okay, a quick one.
Farmer went out to milk his favorite cow, and the drought's so bad, he got powdered milk.
Let's get on with the show.
Okay, I'll start, all right?
Please do.
And from that note, we're going to tell you about a sobering feature that will be up at the end of the program concerning children of divorce. Their shattered lives are seen and tried to put back piece by piece.
Another shattering idea, of course, is just how to say no. Father Tom Leger has some very important information to give us on how to say no and why.
And Msgr Charles Devlin, the pastor of St. John the Evangelist Parish here in Philly, is going to be along with a very special announcement of interest to viewers and to the crew of Reel to Reel.
You know, it's interesting that Msgr Charles Devlin and I have crossed paths many times, all in different ministries. It always intrigues me how many different ministries are involved for a diocesan priest.
That includes the prison ministry, and Monsignor, as you pointed out earlier, to me, it's evident all across the country. But tonight we're going to talk specifically about Toledo, Ohio. Here we'll see how that prison ministry takes men who are stripped of everything except their faith.
Except for the razor wire that covers the tall fences, the Allen Correctional Institution looks like a small college campus. Behind the fences live men who are serving prison terms for crimes ranging from petty theft to murder. Father Gary Walters sees to the spiritual needs of the men here. Father Walters was sent to Allen Correctional by the Toledo Diocese in response to the Catholic Church's concern for those in prison.
I feel as though the church really does have an obligation to get involved more in prison ministry. I think the presence there is crucial, especially today with all the stress on, social justice, and I think it's the area we have to move into. If we want to take the gospel literally, I think the church is bound. How many references in Scripture to, when I was in prison, you came to visit me. One of the corporal works of mercy is to visit the sick, the imprisoned. That I think the gospel message does call us to get involved in the alienated, in the isolated.
Father Walters says he got involved in prison ministry full-time because he felt that he could have a positive effect on the inmates' lives.
One of the reasons I got involved in this ministry about 2 years ago in Norwalk, a young kid, 18-year-old kid, was involved in a murdered his father and stepmother. And in the process of going to the county jail, we got to be good friends, and then he got sent to Chillicothe and eventually to Lucasville. But before he left, he wrote me a letter and said, you've been like a father to me. He said, in fact, I feel closer to you than I do to my own parents. And I got thinking about that, and I thought, that's when I thought maybe I ought to try to give this ministry a try. Because if I had touched his life that way, how many others maybe can I give a sense of hope and a sense of meaning in their lives?
By his presence here, the prison chaplain says he wants the inmates to feel that there's someone who really cares about them.
My role here is completely different than most people that work in the institution. I think the whole thing of confidentiality is important. It's like their link many times, with the outside. That I'm not looked at as an institutional person, so to speak. The guys have really accepted me.
Rick Files says he can confide in Father Walters. Rick says he's glad he can open up to the prison chaplain, and he's also opening up to the Catholic faith.
When I was younger, I was sent to a Catholic school, Ascension. I proceeded to make my communion, my confirmation, and after that I was never practicing Catholic. Since my incarceration, especially since incarceration here at Allen Correctional Institution, I've been attending services, and I've learned quite a bit that I had forgotten if I never even learned it. But it's a good refresher course, it is.
Weekly masses bring a touch of home to the prisoners. Father Walters says the inmates appreciate the chance to worship as one body.
I think it's necessary for them to attend because it gives them, again, a sense of hope. A lot of them have been away from the church, and now is a good time for them to get back into it because they've been isolated, they've been alone, they have time to think about their lives, the problems that they have, the ways that they've messed up, and church can be a real source of strength, consolation. They love to participate. They do the readings, serve, bring up the gifts. I'm trying to get a little, like a liturgy committee, you know, maybe 3-4 guys to get together on a weekly basis and plan, you know, the upcoming masses. I'm trying to get as many people involved as possible. You know, by participating in the Mass, it gives guys a sense of confidence. Many guys are afraid to get up in front of a group. So I think reading especially, and even serving, you know, to be able to get up in front of people, which could be an asset, you know, when they get out for further, you know, jobs or interviews that they're comfortable with being in front of people.
Kevin Kelly enjoys assisting at Masses. Kevin also works in the chaplain's office and says his faith plays a big part in his life.
It's probably the most important thing to me now, for the simple fact that they can take everything while you're incarcerated from you, except deep down they can't get my morals or my values. And I really believe that instilled every day, working down in the chapel, those things get brought up and they're renewed every day. So I'd have to say that's probably the only thing that they haven't got besides my sense of humor. They haven't gotten the things I've learned as a young Christian, a young Catholic.
Father Walters is a very mobile prison chaplain. Rather than working strictly from his office, Father Walters believes in ministering to the inmates right where they live, work, and play.
I think it's important that you're visible and guys know that you're not just sitting in your office, that you're around and that you're concerned and interested in what they're doing. So guys know I'm here. You know, I'm trying to make myself fairly visible. The approach I use is basically to get to know the guys first. Because you can stand up and preach 1,000 sermons, but until they've accepted you, they're not going to listen. I think it's crucial for the inmates to feel comfortable to get to know you before they're going to really listen to what you have to say. And I've noticed at church, a lot of the guys I've talked to out in the yard or over ball games or wherever, usually they show up. They'll say, hey, you talked to me the other day out, you know, watching the football game. And, you know, that was important to them. You got to meet them where they're at and to try to lead them. But you don't start by bombarding, you know, have you accepted Jesus Christ? Or, you know, why don't you come to church? That's not my style. I guess I hope that my ministry here can give them a different meaning in life, a sense that they are worthwhile. I always kind of remember the Father Flanagan saying that there's no such thing as a bad boy. I think there are people who do bad things, but they're basically good. And I always try to look at the good in people rather than to concentrate on the evil. So I'm convinced many of them are victims. It was their background, their upbringing. Maybe they were never really given a chance. I try to give them the feeling that they are worthwhile. And no matter what you've done, you know, you got to trust that, you know, God is a loving, forgiving Father.
Father Walters has helped me in many occasions. Not only just some of the things he probably doesn't even know indirectly how he's helped me, but I'd have to say through my incarceration here at Allen Correctional, he's helped me in the ways of being conducive to change. In other words, getting ready to get back into society and to make a go of it. With an attitude adjustment, and not only in a spiritual realm of talking to a Catholic priest in prison, but he never talks over your head. You know, he always has the level to speak to, and he's helped me in ways of just handling problems outside the walls, if you will. Not only problems I have to deal with in here, but the problems I have as far as facing society when I go back out and the obstacles I have to overcome.
Father Walters says overall, his mission here at the Allen Correctional Institution is to lighten the spiritual and emotional burdens of the inmates.
I guess if somehow I can help better someone's life or help them get their act together, it makes the whole ministry worthwhile.
Our recent celebration of liberties and freedom makes us very much aware how devastating it must be to lose your personal freedom. There can be nothing worse, I think, than being imprisoned. What a ministry is needed.
And tonight on Reel to Reel, we heard there's going to be a special announcement. Did you know about that?
No, I didn't.
It's coming up next, so stay with us.
Since 1981, Reel to Reel has been proclaiming the good news by bringing you stories of Christian faith in action. We do it by roaming the Delaware Valley, searching for people of faith, hope, and charity.
But like all modern media, it is an expensive proposition. If you're a new viewer or if you've enjoyed Reel to Reel for many years, we'd like to thank you for watching and invite you to participate by actively supporting the show.
With costs rising all around us, we need your financial support. A donation of $5, $10, $20, or whatever you can send will help to keep us on the air.
Send your contributions to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, PA 19103. And thank you.
The word gospel really means good news, and every week on Reel to Reel, we try to bring you some insights into the good news of our Lord Jesus Christ. Tonight, I'm happy to introduce a gentleman who's got good news for Reel to Reel of a different kind. Monsignor Charles Devlin is the pastor of St. John the Evangelist Church in Philadelphia. Monsignor, welcome to Reel to Reel.
Thank you very much,
And
Joe.
I leave it to you now to share your good news.
The big announcement, huh?
The big announcement.
Well, we're very happy to announce to you and to the viewers and the TV audience that Reel to Reel will be accompanying St. John's Marian Year pilgrimage to Paris, Lourdes, and Rome. And that runs on from August the 6th to the 16th. So you'll be filming all of the events of the Marian Year pilgrimage from Philadelphia, and the viewers will be able to see that in subsequent programs.
That is marvelous
Yes,
news.
it is,
It really
yeah.
is. Thank
I'm
you
very
for
happy
sharing
about
that
it, yeah.
with us. Tell me more about the pilgrimage itself. How did this come about, and where does it stand? You've still got some openings for
Well,
people interested?
we have a few openings left, and we're hoping to fill up very, very shortly on that. But the origin of the pilgrimage, we've had a long relationship between St. John's and the Shrine of Our Lady of Lourdes in France. In St. John's Lower Church, many of the people from Delaware Valley are very familiar with the shrine there of Our Lady of Lourdes. People come there by the thousands over the years and present their petitions and place them in the hands of Our Blessed Lady there. So we've always felt that there ought to be a strong relationship. So we're really beginning an annual pilgrimage to Lourdes for the devotees of Our Lady who come to St. John's and who are throughout the greater Delaware Valley. As I say, that's probably the largest and most popular shrine of Our Lady in the whole Northeast corridor. This year, of course, is the Marian Year.
And that's what put you over the edge, isn't it?
That's right.
We've got to do it this year.
We've got to do it this year. We've got to initiate it this year. And while we're going to Lourdes, you know, we thought, well, we've got to go through Paris. So we'll be stopping at the famous shrine of Our Lady of the Miraculous Medal, where the body of Catherine Labouré is, and we will have Mass there. Then we'll also see some of the sights of Paris. We'll move on then to a real highlight of the trip, the Shrine of Our Lady of Lourdes. We'll say Mass at the Grotto, at the Basilica, participate in the candlelight procession, the procession of the sick. And if you've never been to Lourdes, it certainly is a place you should go at least once in your life. The faith is just magnificent. It's so thick you can cut it with a knife almost, as we say.
And now we've got the opportunity for those who haven't been to Lourdes to offer them that opportunity to join you on the pilgrimage. And for those who can't even make that, we can bring a little bit of Lourdes back home for the Delaware Valley.
We're going to take intentions from here to Lourdes, and we'll bring back, there's an old saying, Joe, that no one ever goes to Lourdes and comes away empty-handed. And I firmly believe that. I've seen it in my own life. I've seen it in my brother's life, family life, and so forth.
Now tell me about the last leg of the pilgrimage, because you've got this you've got this timed like a NASA scientist, don't you?
Well, I don't know about that, but we're hoping we have it timed like one of them. The last leg of the tour, of course, will be in Rome for the closing of the Marian Year. Now, it's warm in Rome at this time of the year, but it's the Marian Year is designated to close on the feast of the Assumption of Our Blessed Lady on August the 15th. So the Holy Father will be saying that Mass. We expect to be in very good position to see him and to be part of that great celebration, which will be in the square of St. Peter's.
That's just marvelous, just marvelous. And I'm going to give the number now for those of you who would be interested in making this pilgrimage. There still are some openings available, and you can get more information about the trip. You can sign up and make your reservation by calling St. John the Evangelist Parish. That number is 215-563-4145. That's 563-4145. Did I get that number right?
You got it right.
Familiar to you.
It sounds familiar to me, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the crew from Reel to Reel over at Lourdes and Rome.
Yes, indeed. That is a marvelous opportunity, and I thank you for helping to make that available, but also I thank you for making that pilgrimage available to the people of the Delaware Valley.
Yes, as far as I know, it's the only one from the greater Delaware Valley that's going over.
And such a
at
marvelous
that time for the close.
I mean, not only educational, but the spiritual element. Just marvelous to see those three
Absolutely.
places, and to be there at this unique opportunity to be in Rome for the closing of that Marian year makes this all the more special and marvelous.
We're very excited about it.
Thank you for getting it going and for making Reel to Reel a part of it.
Thank you.
Monsignor, best of luck with it. Don't forget to call that number, get more information about the pilgrimage, and remember that we'll be bringing footage back from the pilgrimage, and that will kick off our new season of Reel to Reel in September. You'll be seeing it then. Back to you now, Monsignor and Jane.
Well, when you talk about getting away from it all, many people might turn to a trip abroad just to get away from some problems at home. And yet, unfortunately, more and more people are turning to illegal substances to escape.
Addictive behavior is kind of hard to handle, Jane. Father Tom Legere has some good ideas for us on just how to say no, because addictive behavior springs from some kind of an appetite or creates even a worse one. So that when you and I say to someone, choose your poison, we had better be careful, because we might be doing just that.
Greetings in the Lord. According to First Lady Nancy Reagan, when it comes to drugs, all we have to do is just say no. Well, the only problem with this approach based on sheer willpower is that it seldom works. Addictive substances are used by people because apparently they fulfill a need that they have. What we have to do, I think, is find a better alternative. We live in an addictive society. Some drugs are considered to be acceptable and others are not. Some of the not okay drugs are things like marijuana and cocaine and heroin. And it's easy to get self-righteous about those things because obviously they destroy a lot of people's lives. However, what about a drug like alcohol? Actually, that's far more deadly and kills a lot more people than all those other drugs combined. Obviously, we have a double standard here. The same could be said about nicotine, which according to the Surgeon General is the single most addictive substance that we have today. Addictive behavior is also something that needs to be addressed. For example, being a workaholic can destroy a person's health and destroy their relationships. Not being able not to work is really a kind of a sickness. Now, where do all of these addictive cravings and addictive behaviors come from? I think without being simplistic about it, we can say that they come ultimately from a hunger for God. The American philosopher William James was one of the first ones to acknowledge this spiritual dimension that was ultimately behind some of the addictive substances that people got involved in. For example, when it comes to alcohol, he said that alcohol has the power to stimulate the mystical faculties of human nature. They function in the place of things like symphony concerts and literature for the poor and the unlettered. I think the real genius of the 12-step program, which is behind things like Alcoholics Anonymous, Gamblers Anonymous, Overeaters Anonymous, is that it recognizes the spiritual thirst that is ultimately behind all of these mental problems. You know, we all have a God-sized hole in our hearts that can never be filled by a stiff drink a cup of coffee, a rush of cocaine, or the rush of a business deal successfully completed. It's not that addictions are all that bad. It's just that they ultimately cannot and do not deliver what they promise. Only God and love can satisfy the deepest cravings of the human heart.
Just say no, not just to those illegal substances, but as we see that addictive behavior as well.
We have some more things to say about making choices. Please stay with us.
I like to see my dad more often because I only see him, I hardly see him. I only see him like on spring vacation or Christmas. He comes down here or I go up there.
Many people find retirement isn't as much fun as they thought it would be. Too much time on their hands, too little to do. The Retired Senior Volunteer Program has thousands of opportunities for retired executives, housewives, engineers, teachers, whatever your skills or schedule. RSVP has something to fit anyone's interests. You've learned a lot in your life. Share the experience of a lifetime.
We welcome your comments and suggestions and encourage you to write to us at Reel to Reel, 222 North 17th Street, room 907, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19103, or call us during regular business hours at 215-668-9842.
Monsignor, you mentioned choices right before we went to the short break. And when a marriage is shattered, there are choices that you have to take. I mean, it could be kind of a cold and calculated agreement, but then again, it could turn into a bitter battle.
Once we had an interview with women of divorce, and I always remember one lady said to me, you know, in a divorce, nobody ever wins. And it's very difficult. Some of these things have to take place. When they take place, we have to examine how they take place. Key, I think, would be this. We must always remember to treat persons as persons and things as things.
Well, sometimes my dad says, like, my mom wanted custody of me because she just wanted the child support to buy clothes. But when I asked my mom that, she just said it the other way, that he wanted the money. I don't really want to think anything that's that's true because I just wanted to think that they love me. Well, I like to see my dad more often because I only see him. I hardly see him. I only see him like on spring vacation or Christmas. He comes down here or I go up there, or summer, because he lives in London and he has to work there for a couple of years. And when he comes back, I hope that's soon, I can see him more often, like every other weekend or something.
Every time he says something about my mom, I just feel like telling him that, well, she's better than you are because you abandoned us. But I really wouldn't want to tell him that because even though he's hurting mine, I wouldn't want to hurt his feelings.
These young people are children of divorce. They felt the pain and anguish that comes when a family falls apart. They know that it's difficult to comprehend the impact of divorce unless you've experienced it personally.
It just doesn't occur to me, and I think to many people in my profession, that the children would feel guilty about their parents' separation. And I've heard it expressed more than once that if the children were only better as children, their parents wouldn't have separated. And that's a really remarkable thing for me to hear.
John Murphy is an attorney in Baltimore, Maryland. As a member of the St. Thomas More Society, an association of Catholic lawyers, he is actively working to change the way the legal profession views children in divorce cases.
The problem is very real for lawyers because their obligation is to represent their clients and to see if it's possible to have their clients obtain those things they think are very important. Well, things are important, and that's the problem. We deal in things and numbers and finance and dollars, but what we're not seeing is, I think, a real emphasis on the children and what their needs are and how that process folds together.
To identify the problems, John and other members of the St. Thomas More Society meet regularly. They depend on input from experts on children's needs, such as Barbara Mark, a teacher and director of Rainbows for All God's Children, a support group for kids of divorce.
myself included.
Barbara, what problems have you seen in the schools? I know that you're a teacher and you see the children of divorced and separated parents. Have you seen any problems with them?
Well, so many times the parents don't tell us when they're getting divorced or separated, and we see a remarkable fluctuation in their grades. An A student may go down to a C or a D, and then we know that there's something going on. So usually we call home to see, is there a problem at home?
One practical approach that John and his colleagues are developing is to encourage both attorneys in a divorce case to have their clients draw up a parenting plan during the first few weeks of separation. Attorney Edward Bradley discusses these needs with a new client.
Parenting agreement goes a little bit beyond a separation agreement. The separation agreement simply says, usually says, that the children will live with so-and-so, okay, that may be you, and that the visitation will take place on other days. But we're going to try to work out a plan for where the kids will be and what their activities will be and how each of you, you and your husband, will contribute to the upbringing of the children. When we're doing one of these agreements, I kind of need to know from you what's very important to you in terms of the upbringing of the children. I don't know your kids nearly as well as you do, obviously, so I have to rely on you. And in terms of Bobby and Kelly, what's the most important thing that you think you and your husband have to agree to?
Because the ethical guidelines for attorneys require them to zealously work for the rights of their clients, John feels the rights of the children are often ignored. He's working to see that change.
I know the house is important. I know the car is important. I know that, you know, who does what to who is very important. But these things have to be second to the children. And I think when we move that priority, when we change that priority and make that so clear that we're going to do this first, we're going to stabilize the family first, we're going to try to get the needs of the children out during these first few weeks of the separation. If we could accomplish that, then I think we would make an enormous progress towards lessening the heartache, not only for the children, but very substantially for the parents.
And it seems like it's my fault because they're fighting over me, and it's like they put me in the middle of everything that they're fighting over. It's like my fault.
It's been quite a show this evening. Unfortunately, we don't have any more time for more jokes, so we'll just talk about what's coming up next week. We're going to travel to Miami, and it's going to be from palm trees to a center for paralysis. You'll see an innovative treatment there.
We want you to be sure to watch Father Jerry Bracken next week. We've asked him to do a repeat of an idea of the church's position on homosexuality.
And once again, Joe Swope will be casting a critical eye at the movies that are out this summer, and Sister Leona Tucker will be along with some special advice on how we can all help the handicapped in our midst.
So we'll see you then. Please take care.
Goodbye, and God bless you.
Good night. See you next week on Reel to Reel.
Monsignor Walsh has written so many books and made so many cassettes that we could not possibly explain them all to you.
We would be glad to send you a brochure with a full explanation.
We would also like to send you our free monthly newsletter, which tells you of all the charismatic events.
Included in that newsletter would be a copy of the pamphlet Understanding Charismatic Movement.
All this is free. Just call 215-668-HOPE.
Or write to Charismatic Office, St. Charles Seminary, Philadelphia, PA 19151.